Hello everybody and welcome into the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series, making a stop here tonight at Michigan International Speedway. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Qualifying is complete. A little bit of a bigger field here tonight. A lot of drivers with a lot of anticipation at their chances to go get a win at Irish Hills, Michigan. We're going to find out though who gets the job done after 125 laps of action here tonight. Let's get right down trackside and get things started with your starting grid. Taking the pole here tonight, it's going to be Colton Hardy in the 97 machine. He starts on the outside of his teammate David Traylor, who's got that outside pole in second. One of the new names in the field that we see here tonight, that's going to be Colin Bullinger. Right now, he will start from the third spot tonight. Charles Van Schaik back in fourth, Eric Hegdahl in fifth. Then you've got Keith Prince to his outside in sixth, Clinton Woodby in seventh with Joe Yates in eighth, Jesse Wise ninth, and Kevin Winker rounding out your top 10. Bill Hale's back in 11th. Dylan Paz will start on the outside of row 6 and 12th. Back in 13th, it's Jonathan Herbert with Haas Beverly to his outside in 14th. Evan Schilling, Mark Beverly back in row number 8. Jesse Calloway, Michael Newman in row 9. And it'll be Tyler Beverly alongside Rick LePage to round out the top 20. Last car in the field here tonight is Lance Thompson. He will start in 21st. Taking a look at your race info, it is the Muehlberger Custom Homes 250 here tonight. Again, in the Xfinity cars, it's what we've been in all season. 125 laps will be the total distance in laps. That breaks down to 250 miles. We will have a stage break on lap 30, 95% fuel with 4 sets of tires. Fixed setups as always in 3 green-white checkers. 74 degrees outside, 66% humidity. Partly cloudy skies, winds at 11 miles an hour. Michigan International Speedway, 2 miles in length. And we got a starting track temp here tonight of just under 100 degrees. This is a high bank, 2-mile D-shaped oval. You're going to see a lot of high speeds and a lot of drafting, especially in the early portions of these runs. It's time to find out who's going to be a winner at Michigan. Will we see a new name or someone returning to victory lane? Green flag is in the air. We are racing at Michigan. Lap 1 in the books, and it goes to the 97 of Colton Hardy. Leads his teammate David Traylor already. You can see we actually had quite a bit of cars shuffle up to this outside line. I thought we'd go a little bit longer before we saw that start to be the trend, but that is not the case. And I mean, really, it's going to be kind of the story of all night is who can find the fastest line first. As you saw, Clinton Woodby there in the 92. He had some contact with the outside wall. That's going to cost him some momentum as the 23 Van Schaik looks to sneak around his outside. He'll get that spot. We'll hop on board here pretty early. We do have, by the way, an onboard view here tonight for David Traylor, so we'll go ahead and ride on board with him here for this shot. And watch this. So this is going to be kind of the start of a lap. We'll take you all the way through what a lap looks like here at Michigan International Speedway, but it starts with the high-speed front stretch. And if you've got draft, you're going to be seeing speeds upwards of close to 200 miles an hour. I don't think they quite get there in these Xfinity cars, but again, this is a very high horsepower, low downforce package. And unlike the trucks, these Xfinity cars, they do start to take some throttle control here at Michigan, especially as the run goes on and tires start to wear out. Early on, though, it's just going to be all about trying to get as close as you can to that yellow line. If you run the top, it may be faster, but you're going to burn your stuff up that much quicker. Here you go down the front stretch. Traylor drops down just above the apron, rather, with his teammate Colton Hardy. And there's the top speeds we were telling you about, almost 196 miles an hour. The driver out of Conyers, Georgia, as he works his way down towards and into turn number 1 before he has to get out of the throttle. And right there, you see the car wiggling just a little bit. That's going to be the other thing that you're fighting as a driver all night, is trying not to get loose, especially when you're coming up off of turn number 2. That seems to be where the car has a tendency to handle a little worse at least in the rear end. For David Traylor right now, we've been on the onboard shot, but let's show you the real-life cockpit view. See right there, he is dialed in, nice and focused right now, but he doesn't look under pressure. He doesn't look like he's necessarily pushing the pace too much just yet. How about the man making his first start here tonight? Colin Bullinger And again, I believe I've said it wrong, so if you know how to pronounce it, let me know. I'm going to go with, for now, I said Bollinger. I think we're going to go with Bollinger. So for Colin, right now, not up or down any positions where he started this race at. Just a good, solid run going, sitting in that third spot. Eric Hegdahl back and forth. Van Schaik still hanging around inside the top 5. And it's Clinton Woodby who sits in 6th with Joe Yates 7th. Keith Prince back in 8th. Dylan Pause in 9th. And Kevin Winker currently rounding out your top 10. Just 5 laps in the books, and this is going to be a long one. 250 miles at a lot of tracks. It's a decent distance, certainly the longer end of mileage that we run throughout different races of the season. But here in Michigan, it just feels a little bit more grueling. Feels like you have to endure just a little bit more because, again, it's a track that changes so much in terms of speed and the way that you have to drive the car from the start of a run on fresh tires to the end of the run on old tires. Now, we do have that stage break at lap 30. That's going to help a couple drivers out. We're kind of giving them a bit of a chance to reset, try to make some... You can't make any, of course, physical adjustments to the car, but try to make some mental adjustments on what line you want to run, how soon you want to push your tires, and where you think you can be a little bit better at. Right now, Mark Beverly sitting in 16th. Just behind him, his teammate, Haas Beverly, who currently sits in 17th, going to fall to 18th here, as that's Jesse Wise in the 69, who was able to just pick that spot up. That'll move Haas Beverly now down 4 spots from where he started, and Jesse Wise, man, talk about a driver that really went in the wrong direction at the start of this race. He qualified top 10 and has since fallen well outside of the top 15. He's trying to fight back now. But again, you wonder, was it something to do with trying to save a little tire? Or did he maybe have an issue that has gotten him back to this point in those first opening couple of laps? Either way, Jesse Wise certainly some work ahead of him. He wants to try to get back towards the front of the field. Bill Hales in 14th, and then Jonathan Herbert currently sitting in 13th. Evan Schilling's got a pretty good run going right now as he sits in a 12th spot currently in that number 18 radar scope machine. And you look at the drivers who are still looking for a win this season. I mean, there's some big possibilities still here at the front of the field. I think the most impressive one, obviously, would have to be if Colin Bollinger could find a way to get the job done here tonight. But if not him, I mean, you still look back. For Van Schaik, boy, what an interesting season he's had. I mean, the consistency has been there, but it's almost been there kind of in spurts. You haven't seen him necessarily dominate every week. He's had a couple of rough goes in between, but once he starts to get a groove for things, starts to feel it out, he has proven that once he gets hot, he's dangerous, and he can start to really show what he's got. And I mean, still looking for that first win. I know it hasn't quite came yet, but you almost get that sense that it's getting close, and it's just a matter of time before he is going to get the job done. In terms of overall winners this season, the man on top with the most still up to this point, David Traylor. He won the last 2 weeks. Looking to see if he can make it 3 in a row with a win here tonight. Still contending with his teammate. He was able to get around, though, the 97 of Colton Hardy. Since he made that pass, Hardy has not been able to really track him back down. However, Bollinger still sitting pretty close right now. He has not fallen either. And if these two stay pretty much nose to tail, they may be able to utilize the draft just enough to start to at least maybe pull back up a little bit, and at worst, probably hang even here. You see Hegdahl, he's trying to get a little bit of a run now. I'm trying to figure out who else that was sneaking to the inside. I believe it was Van Schaik. Yes, it was. And the 23 car right there. Here's the 92 of Clinton Woodby. He's going to take a look to the inside now. Clinton Woodby looking for a big run. Not quite going to happen here. This is a tough spot to pass, especially when tires wear out. You're on the inside. You could argue that it's the preferred lane, I think, especially on fresh tires. You see Woodby just about gets that pass, but that's what makes it tricky right there. If you cannot get clear and jump up on the exit of the corner, that guy on the outside has a big enough run where he's going to draw back even before you get to the next entry of the corner. And so for Van Schaik right now, he is just simply concerned about trying everything he possibly can to stay to the outside. He won't be able to stay there anymore, though. The 92 of Clinton Woodby is going to take that position, and he will now slide in line. Currently sits in that 5th spot, so he takes it away from Van Schaik. Meanwhile, up front, I mean, how about the different looking paint scheme for David Traylor? You know, for a driver that's gotten so much TV time this season with how many laps he's led, he decided to get a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, maybe give a little bit more of a shout out to the QH Design sponsor that he got signed about mid of the season, mid portion of the season. Of course, his teammate Colton Hardy, a QH Design sponsored driver as well. And I believe Colton Hardy may be affiliated. I'm not sure if he owns QH Design, works for QH Design. Either way, your one-stop sign shop. See it on the front hood, 304-490-8766 QH Design. Make sure you check them out. David Traylor rocking the good yellow and black colors here tonight, with a little hint of red. Try to represent QH Design. Bollinger, he's closing here. We may see a battle between a couple drivers rather, who are proven they know how to save some tire. And man, right now, you wonder, does David Traylor have enough here saved up to potentially go to battle with the 03? He's catching. Looks like Bollinger has officially committed to that high side. That's kind of that phase that we talk about. The high side's better, but once you shift up there, you start to make a commitment, and once you've made that commitment, you're going to burn tire a lot more than everybody else. And so for Bollinger in this case, just wonder, is it maybe a little too early? We thought that he was tracking down Traylor, which, I mean, obviously he was. You look at the time delta there on the bottom right of your screen, and if we actually compare this between David Traylor and Colin Bollinger, I mean, Bollinger is kind of an interesting sort of setup, if you will. He started to lose, and then all of a sudden he's gained a bunch. But then we look at this last lap here, once it pops up, and I think he may have lost just a smidge on that lap compared to at least what he was gaining over the last couple laps, but still within 0.3 of a second back from David Traylor here. Again, well within range. And the draft here at Michigan, I mean, at a track where you're going almost 200 miles an hour, remember, the idea is the faster you go and the longer the straights are, the more that the draft is going to play a role. Michigan has plenty of those two factors combined, and so it's going to be tough to really necessarily scoot away, I guess would be the word I'm kind of looking for here if you're David Traylor. At least not until these tires really start to wear out. In terms of that fuel mileage, 95% in these cars here, you would think should get these drivers to probably somewhere right around the lap 40 mark. And so they won't have to pit in this first stage, but that would set them up for, I believe, 2 pit stops in the second stage, depending on, of course, when we go back green. But I think we'll go back green somewhere with right around 90 laps to go. That might make it a bit of a fuel mileage race in terms of if you could stretch it to 45, but we'll get to that conversation once we get to the end of this stage, because right now we are only halfway through. We have only had one lead change up to this point, but don't let that tell you about how much battling there's been out back. Hegdahl able to make a little bit of a move right there on Van Schaik to hold on to second, hold on to third. But for Van Schaik here, after fading just a little bit a handful of laps or so ago, he has now found a little something again. The 23 making his way back forward. Here's the view looking back for Charles Van Schaik right now. He can see Woodby and Hegdahl. Hegdahl with a slip up. Clinton Woodby, he'll try to capitalize as well right here. And watch Woodby, he's going to sail it off into the corner. You see the fire out of the pipes. As late of an entry as he can get, but Hegdahl still rolling very well up top. And that's going to prevent Clinton Woodby from being able to get clear. It's close, but not quite going to be able to do it. Hegdahl stays even, so as they drag race, Van Schaik will start to sneak away. It's the view out back, but for Van Schaik, he's more concerned about the view out front. Can he catch the two leaders? The 03, whoa, that was a big moment for David Traylor along with the 03 of Bollinger. It looked like, I don't know if David was trying to set up to maybe see if he could take the line away from the 03. But that had a really odd and almost kind of nervous-looking view right there, as for a second David Traylor was getting ready to get hooked around, or the 03 was going to go into the wall. Either way, they both hold on, they keep it going. This battle up front is still extremely fierce. I mean, you've got 5 to 10 different cars that you could all throw under a blanket right now. In terms of actual cars within a second of the leader, it's still all your top 5, with Clinton Woodby, the farthest one back, being only 0.7 of a second behind David Traylor. Van Schaik back to the bottom here. He's going to look for yet another pass here. This one, though, for second. And Van Schaik complete the slide job. He was close, but he's going to keep it respectful. He'll give the 03 a chance to stay up top. And each lap that they do this just continues to help out David Traylor more and more. He knows that the more they race, the more they wear their tires out, and the more he can save them. But I think if you're the 03 at this point, I mean, Bollinger, you're already committed for the stage. You just got to run as hard as you can. But if you start to get loose, then you got to start to maybe go into just a little bit of a conserve mode. You don't want to overuse your stuff to the point of you just start dropping spots like a rock here in the last 10 laps or so of the stage. But, man, Bollinger is just really pushing it right now into the corner. He gets a really good entry. Problem is, it seems like he was paying the price a little bit on exit, but it was better that time. He's going to have another run on David Traylor. Let's see, where's he going to take it here? Will he pull out to the bottom, or will he stay up top? Looks like he's going to go to the inside here in turn 3. David Traylor going to have to race it in really deep right here and hope that it sticks up top. And the 03 with a lot of momentum, but not quite enough to get clear. Now this may put him in a vulnerable spot because Van Schaik is rolling in the draft. He's going to have a big run as well. Bollinger not even going to try to slide up, at least not yet. He'll just stay on the bottom of the racetrack for now. 20 of 125 laps complete. When they cross the line next time, it'll be 21 of 125 complete. So we are still at the point in this race where we have over 100 laps to go. And when you consider that, along with the fact that there's really only that one stage break, I mean, this is your only chance to take notes. What have you got in the short run and what have you got on the long run? Bollinger able to complete the pass and still hold on. Thought for sure that maybe Trailer would be able to pounce back on him, or Van Schaik would. But it has not quite worked out that way. Looks like, I was trying to see here on some of the data we have for Van Schaik. I'm not sure if he's just struggling with the handling or if all of a sudden the grip's starting to fall off again. He looked like he had started to fall off earlier, and then all of a sudden, he figured it out, started to make some time back up, got up to third, then second, just about, and now since then, he started to struggle again. But for David Trailer, who's still hanging around inside the top three, races with Eric Hegdahl, he's trying to go up here and see if he can track down the 03 of Colin Bollinger. And right now, no luck just yet. But we're going to be coming to 22 now of 125 laps complete. That officially puts us at 8 laps to go here in stage number 1. Van Schaik still sitting 4th, would be 5th. You look at some of these drivers out back. Colton Hardy, Joe Yates, they have been able to stick with this lead group. Kevin Winker, though, a little bit of a different story. He's about 3.8 seconds back from the back bumper of Joe Yates, so he's going to have some work to do. A bit of a hole to climb out of if he wants to get back within drafting range of these leaders. Kevin Winker, though, still with plenty of opportunity here, especially once we get that stage caution. Dylan Paws leading a bit of a second pack right now. And for Dylan, just behind him, he's got Jesse Calloway, followed by Keith Prince, Evan Schilling, and Bill Hales, who leads that third pack right now. He's got a couple drivers behind him, and Jonathan Herbert, Mark Beverly, Jesse Wise, Michael Newman, and then Haas Beverly right now running by himself, as is Lance Thompson. Rick LaPazza looks to be catching, and Tyler Beverly here right now sits in the pits. Not sure what happened to Tyler, but certainly a tough break to see him out of the race this early. So it'll be 24 of 125 laps complete when they cross the line this next time around. That'll leave us now with just 6 laps to go in the stage. Once they do, go 3 of Bollinger. Unless I missed something last week, and it was his first week last week instead. I mean, this is impressive stuff. To just come out here and immediately almost just figure it out and start to be able to compete with these guys is hard enough. Much less going out here winning a stage break and setting yourself up with good track position for the final stage. But it appears that that is exactly what the 03 of Bollinger is doing right now. As we look out of the gearbox view, you can see that David Trailer is not going to let him just walk away with this. Trailer, in fact, has started to close the gap back up. You hear a lot of different opinions on which car races the best at Michigan. 2 of the favorites, though, are always the trucks and the Xfinity cars, but a lot of people, the one worry with these Xfinity cars is that the handling is going to go way too quick. Just, again, we talked about it earlier. This low downforce, high horsepower package that these Xfinity cars run, especially at tracks like Michigan, it makes them very tough to drive as fast as it is. But then at the same time, you don't have to be perfect. That's the great thing about the draft, the great equalizer, as we like to call it, is it can make up for minor mistakes that you make through the corner, as long as you're close enough to kind of be within that draft down the straightaways. David Trailer right now, he's got another move here. There he goes to the inside. The 54 is going to look for a bit of a side draft going off into turn 3. Was it enough to get himself clear here through the corner? He's trying, but he's just sliding a little too much up the racetrack. He doesn't quite have the grip to pin it down there just yet. And so he's going to have to stay back on the bottom here. He's hoping for some help out back. Van Schaik, not sure which lane he wants to provide a little bit of aero support to. It looks like he'll give a little bit of boat down the front stretch as he dove down, cut the track, and then went right back up to the top as soon as he could to keep the momentum up top. For Van Schaik, though, right now, still rolling around the middle, trying to catch up to these two. If either one of them slips up and makes a mistake, that 23 could be there to pounce when they cross the line this time. It'll be just 3 laps to go here in stage number 1 at Michigan. Bollinger trying to hold on for all it's worth. That car may be starting to get just a little bit out of shape on him, but he holds on. The question is, can he hold on to the position as well? It looks like he does. David Trailer Yet again, so close, but not quite enough. And I think for Traylor here, what you might see is he's going to have to just dive it in and commit on one of these corners. I think he's starting to realize it too. Just going to start to lose too much time and put yourself in too vulnerable of a spot if you stay in this area for too long. And for Traylor, though, wasn't able to do it that time. Van Schaik looked the lane lower. It looks like he was able to get the nose down there as whoa. Big move out back for Eric Hegdahl. They almost fan out 3 wide there between Woodby and Colton Hardy, but they all keep it together. See the 03 still rocking and rolling up top. They'll be coming to 2 laps to go. Can Bollinger hold on for 2 more laps? You got to figure if he's where he is right now, and this was coming out of the final corner here for the stage, that it would be a drag race between these two all the way back to the line to determine who gets it. But if Bollinger can't hold on to that point, then it will not matter. By the way, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. You're watching the Muehlberger Custom Homes 250 for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Series on PGR eSports. It's been a good one so far. No cautions to speak of, even with an over 20-car field to start the race at. See that for the 45 of, I believe that's Haas Beverly. We'll get a double check on that. No, excuse me, not Haas. That's Tyler Beverly, I believe, and yes, it is. So Tyler Beverly, the only car that is retired from the race at the moment. And you saw there that for everybody else, they're all still on the lead lap. Looking at the track map here, appears it's going to stay that way for the rest of the stage because we are at the 1 to go mark now in stage 1. Traylor with one more big commitment. Not going to be enough there. Can he group back up and make another lunge at it here in 3 and 4? Down the back stretch, side by side still. The 54, though, finally had to tuck back in line. Now he'll jump back out. Does David Traylor go for the full slide job? This will be for the stage win. The 54 going to drive it in deep. He's hoping that it'll work out for him here. Nothing yet. Van Schaik, maybe he considers a move low. Traylor slips up just a little bit. They're going to drag race back to line, but now the help comes to the outside, and it is going to be, looks like, oh, it's close. Did David Traylor get it? He did. Even without the help and the momentum coming off the corner, David Traylor able to steal the stage right at the last second there. Another stage victory, and what a stage victory it was for David Traylor. Man, we got to go back and look at that one again. Well, that's certainly a pretty good indication of what we could see here at the end at Michigan, but watch this slow here. I thought for sure as soon as the 23 Van Schaik jumped up that this would be all the 03s, but that's not the way it played out. So watch this is going to be coming off of the corner here. You see Van Schaik. He's got a bit of a run. He's got a couple of choices. He doesn't push Traylor. He says, I don't think so. Instead, he's going to go high right here. And as he goes to do so, what happens? Does somebody just make a mistake? It's tough to see. And I think that my only guess, though, still was, let's go to the cockpit view first here. Just how close this could have been, or I guess I should say how close this was. A whole lot more disastrous, but for Van Schaik, I mean, what an effort this is. He's going to go all the way down to the bottom, try to hook it, and just hope it sticks for him. And it does for quite a while, but then as he starts to slide up right here, he just loses that momentum. Car starts falling back on him and ultimately loses the spot, but still not quite as thrilling as this finish right here. Look how close this is. This may be under, let's see. Man, that's really close. Looks like the 54 of David Traylor gets it by, I don't know, maybe a nose, couple noses. Either way, though, it is his stage victory nonetheless. All right, so as everybody brings it down, top off on fuel and tires, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be right back for the final stage. Stick with us at Michigan.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost from trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. Here we go for the final stage in the Muehlberger Custom Homes 250. Green flag is back in the air. 34 of 125 laps complete. And it leaves us with just about 10 shy of 100 to go. As the 03 Colin Boilinger got a great start. Colin Bollinger, excuse me. Great restart for the 03 though. Either way, he's already got a 0.2 of a second lead by the time they're exiting turn number 2. For David Traylor, how aggressive does he get? I'll tell you what, one thing that we saw with that first stage, which I think was so interesting, is that we went 30 laps, and in that entire span, we still had 5 drivers in the mix. We never had that kind of classic where eventually somebody pulls away. I mean, it was pretty much a duel all the way to the finish. And we'll see if we get that here for, the distance of a long run in this final stage. Where again, we predict that they could go probably, I'd say at least 40 laps. That would be my general guess. To make this a one-stopper, I think you're going to have to go more so 45 to 47 on one or both of these stops. That may be pushing that envelope a little bit. So we'll base off when they make this first pit stop to get an idea on if they can make it in a one-stop or if it's going to be more so a 2. Further back, still plenty of 2x2. You see Dylan Paws in the 10 machine. He's starting to work his way through the field. And that number 10 Toyota Supra. For Dylan Paws, still looking to grab his first win in the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. He's gotten one in the Noma Truck Series, but still has not been able to find victory lane yet here in the AOR Series. And man, up front, a little bit of door-to-door for second right there between David Traylor and Clinton Woodby. Woodby's going to stay low. David Traylor, though, is going to look for a bit of a crossover right here. And man, oh man. By the way, brief update. You saw that some of the SDK things you might have noticed here. For David Traylor, Colton Hardy, it says White Knuckle Racing on their driver cards. We've changed this a couple times, and it seems like it likes to reset. I will have to look into why it keeps doing that. But the point I'm trying to make is those two drivers are not on White Knuckle. Those are two of the loose lug nut racing drivers, and so they've got a little bit more help than just what it may have initially seemed like they did. And as a matter of fact, you think about the loose lug nuts drivers, they've got Colton Hardy, David Traylor, obviously, but in addition to that, Jesse Wise, Joe Yates, and Jesse Calloway helping that crew as well. There's a little bit of 3 wide. David Traylor going to get split in the middle right there by the 87 of Joe Yates, and on the inside by the 10 of Dylan Paws. And whoa, what happened to the 03 of Bollinger? Did we miss something here? Did he have maybe a big moment? He must have had something here to cause whatever happened. I mean, he was running up front with these guys. He was the leader. And then all of a sudden the 03 just fell off of a cliff. Did he slip up here in one of the turns? I think that would be the next big guess. Let's see. Is this going to be going at, I mean, maybe not. Maybe he just loses this. And that's slow of a process. I think that's kind of what it was. I mean, this may be, I guess, the first hint of a slip up, if you will. But, I mean, he just loses so much momentum from this point on. There goes Woodby. And then we'll speed it up here just to show you. Watch how many cars go around him here before he's able to finally kind of get back in the line. There goes the 97 of Colton Hardy. Okay, thinks to himself, all right, I should be good now. Nope. Joe Yates is going to sneak by as well. Paws has a run. And so now Dylan's going to just about get clear before they get to turn 1. He finally does. The 03 has to enter the corner just a little bit higher. That allows 2 more to slip by. And from there, just kind of continued and started to snowball out of control. But part of the reason for that may be that right now Bollinger isn't necessarily pushing the issue. He may be trying to save some tire, knowing how important they're going to be once we get to the back half of this run. Up front, though, Joe Yates has since went to the point. He takes the lead now with 39 of 125 laps in the books. For Joe Yates, he has already found victory lane once on the season. Boy, he'd like to find it a second time, maybe here tonight at Irish Hills, Michigan. But Dylan Paws, he looks like he was shot out of a cannon. I'm not sure if Dylan's maybe going with the approach here of just burn the stuff up while you got it, or if he has just all of a sudden found this much more speed in the race car compared to everybody else. But either way, Dylan Paws is moving right now. See, again, looks to the inside of the 87 for the lead. He's up 10 spots from where he started this race at. If he can take the lead, that is going to put him up 11. Looks like he will poke a nose out in front here through 1 and 2. Can he complete the slide job off the corner? He'll start to work his way up. And indeed he does. Joe Yates with a bit of a run back. Will he try to go back to the inside, or will he stay in line? Looks like for Joe Yates, he's content with staying in line right now. Not going to try to make any sort of move right there. And so if you're Joe Yates right here, I mean, you think about the fact that the 10 gets by, but that's okay. Again, you don't have to push the issue. Ooh, 87 right there with a brief scrape to the outside wall. But I was going to say, if you're Yates, don't push the issue. If you feel like Dylan's running a blistering pace, maybe try to go up there, let him burn his stuff up. Just back it down. Clinton Woodby, Mark Beverly, and a couple others here, they've also got a lot of speed right now. They're catching this group. Part of me almost wonders if was there something on the pit sequence maybe got these guys offset, or is it really just about kind of about tire saving? We know that tire saving is pretty crucial, but I mean, this is really not as bad as we thought it would be. Let's go back here and actually show you the pit stops here, and we can kind of get a pretty good idea of who took wet. We went to break, so you probably saw it. I did not. I went to grab a quick drink of water. Watch this here. So everybody's going to bring it in, and you would assume that everybody would take tires, but that's the question that we're trying to answer right here. Because if they didn't, then that could potentially explain why some of the difference in speeds that we're seeing. But here we go. Watch as they all start to work their way into their boxes here as they start to get towards the latter end of the pits. So as Bollinger gets into his box, looks like he gets in clean without any issues right there. And watch what some of these drivers take. Let's see who gets out where. So it looks like for Trailer, Bollinger, you see the right side go up, drops down, and looks like the left side goes up as well on both of those race cars. Okay, so that answers that question. For the field, there was no tire strategy, no special tire strategy. It was foreign fuel for everybody. It's just that they must be saving that much more right now. David Trailer has fallen back to 6th, about a second and a half back from the leaders. So as Dylan Paws and Joe Yates continue to lead the way, 43 of 125 laps complete. You think back to when we went back to green flag racing here for the final stage, and that was with about 34 laps complete. So I would think that they could go till maybe right around lap 75, maybe even a couple to a handful after that point. At least that's the general idea that we have right now about how far they can go. And then that's when we'll start asking the questions about whether or not it'll be a one-stop. Dylan Paws, though, going to have to surrender the lead right here to the 87 of Joe Yates, who was able to get back by. And now, all of a sudden, the 55 of Mark Beverly have not had a chance to call his name too much, at least not yet here tonight. The 55 really struggled with speed during that first run, but Mark Beverly, similar to what we've seen for other drivers that are really good in the long run, he learns as the race goes on. And it seems like Mark always has the tendency to maybe start a little bit further back. Not necessarily the best qualifier, but he works through traffic slowly and surely, and eventually is able to get himself at the front of the field with a shot at it by the time we're at the end. Beverly going to look back to the inside yet again. Nothing doing right there, but... And for Mark Beverly, by the way, he's up 13 spots from where he started this race at. Here comes the 92 of Clinton Woodby, though, now. He's going to take a dive to the inside. I wonder if Woodby was one of those cars saving just a little bit of fuel. If so, it may be paying off right here, the 92. Going to try to get by on the inside. Can he make it happen? 55 of Beverly. Whoa, man, that was close. Looked like the 4 of Jesse Calloway closed up on the back bumper of Beverly in a huge hurry right there as they got into the corner. That could have almost been contact. And will Calloway try to follow the 92 in his liquid death Chevy Camaro? No, he won't. He'll stay up top right now with Mark Beverly. And, you know, I say up top, but they're really not necessarily in that top lane. They're kind of on the bottom and middle grooves. So you don't see necessarily any of the drivers in this group running that super high line by the wall that seems to be a little faster but also burns your stuff up a little more. There goes Mark Beverly to the inside of Dylan Paws as they work into turn 1. Can Beverly do a 2-for-1 here? Boy, this would be impressive stuff. He will, but he's not quite able to slam the door. Mark Beverly with a huge run right there. He got by the 10 on entry. Looked like he was maybe going to get around the 87 by the time they got to the exit, but just not quite. Needed just a little bit more either way, though. Again, that was a really, really nice move right there by the 55 of Beverly, and now he'll finish the job by getting in front of the 87. So new leader now at Michigan with 46 laps to go. This is the 4th new leader of the race. Actually, to make it the 5th new leader of the race. Started things out early with Colton Hardy as the leader. And Hardy, well, I hate to say this because the dude's got all the talent in the world, but he's kind of been a little bit of the opposite this season as what we've seen with certain drivers that we talked about with Mark Beverly. I mean, you even go back and you look at a couple of the drivers that make their way to the front, like David Traylor, where it seems like for the 97, he starts out with such good speed. We've seen Hardy grab quite a few poles this season. The short run pace has been there. It's been the long run where things have started to become a little bit more questionable. Maybe he's got something here tonight. Maybe that's what we're seeing right here as he works around the 54. But the point to be made here is that for the 97, just struggling a bit right now in terms of just that long run speed. He's got a little bit right now, it seems like, again, as he works around Traylor. But he's going to need a little bit more here to go up and catch these leaders. And at the same time, you wonder, did he maybe use his stuff up a little too much too soon here? Will he catch, track him down, and then eventually start to fade back? Because we've still got a long ways to go in this first long run here of the final stage. Mark Beverly now has his lead up to almost 0.3 of a second. On second place, Joe Yates. Dylan Paws has since fallen back to 8th after going up and taking the lead. That shows you just how bad the fall off is. And we'll get to show you more of a true comparison to that as well once we get to this first round of pit stops. For Mark Beverly, see he's got the Asphalt Outlaws Racing in the Mountain Dew colors there on the front hood of his Ford Mustang. For Mark Beverly, it's been overall, again, a pretty solid season. No wins to show just yet. Not the case last season where he found victory lane, I know at least once. I thought it was a couple times. But he has gotten close a few times this season. Things just have not quite worked out just yet. But still plenty of time here in both the regular season and playoffs to try to find that first win. And I mean, we look at general point standings and where Mark Beverly stands after the last race, and he's in pretty good standings here. Certainly would like to improve his position a little bit better, but right now he sits in 6th in terms of the points positions. So a top 10 run. Right now he's got himself obviously in a spot to advance to the playoffs, which, I know I mentioned we got still a fair amount of time before we get to that point, but it is starting to come up pretty quickly here in terms of that playoff picture. So we'll be keeping an eye on it as, whoa, man, that was another big wobble right there. That time it was for the 18 of Evan Schilling. What was called for him? How about Bill Hales here in the 53? He's got a good-looking paint scheme on board tonight. It's like the either M&H or MH construction. Chevy Camaro right now is down one position from where he started this race at, but for Bill Hales, again, still plenty of time as we go to the rear chase view. You can see trying to get by him is Michael Newman. Michael Newman again, good-looking paint scheme for his number 12 machine, trying to find a way to get by here. It's not been easy just yet. Bill Hales has been working that outside groove, which is where Michael Newman's trying to go. And it is making it a really, really tough pass right now, but we are now officially 51 of 125 laps through this 250-mile event. Mark Beverly continues to lead. And just behind him right now, Joe Yates, followed by Clinton Woodby, Charles Van Schaken, and Jesse Calloway. Currently rounding out your top 5. Trailer back in 6th, still 1.2 seconds behind your leader. But again, that will start to close up. Clinton Woodby in the same boat. He continues to catch, and now he's going to try to set up a pass here on Joe Yates. So take notes now. Whether you're one of the guys that's making the passes now or you're one of the drivers that's getting passed, you have got to save tire for so long in these runs. You're going to lose a lot of position, but you've got to do it. If not, you see the same outcome that we're seeing for a lot of the guys that had speed early in this run. Dylan Paws, who went to the lead, maybe the quickest of them all, has fallen back to 9th. And for Woodby right there, it sounded like, I don't know if he had the clutch in or if that was just pure coasting. I mean, either way, he's tracking down Mark Beverly here at a pretty quick pace, but let's listen here as he goes into the corner. We'll pull up the dashboard speed, show you what it's looking like. He still gets to over 190 down the front stretch. And as they get into the corner, yeah, it doesn't sound like he had the clutch in, at least not that time. Sounds like he's just rolling out of the throttle through the corner. But would be looking very, very stable. It doesn't look like the back end of that race car is wiggling around much at all. I'm not sure if it's just the way that he's steering it to kind of keep that back end set before it starts to step out, or if the handling is just stuck around that long in that race car. But either way, that's good news for Clinton Woodby. By the way, we talked about that 98-degree track temp. That's enough where it's not necessarily too hot that it's going to affect anything, but it's not cold enough to where you're going to see the grip level go up, and we're going to see 2 and 3 wide pack racing for more than, a couple laps on a restart. It just does what it's doing now. It keeps everybody that's close, at least single file wise, within range of the leader, and it gives opportunities that when guys start to get side by side, the group behind can make a go at it. Is whoa, Joe Yakes. That's another big catch. That was almost a huge moment for the 87 as Joe Yakes got big time loose here coming off of turn number 2. Watch this one. You can see the 87 is just going to start to step out on him in the rear end, and right there, whoa, he gets about 30 degrees sideways before he's able to put the wheel back to the right, correct it, and slide up in front of the 54 of David Traylor. Keep himself in good position. 55 of 125 laps now complete. Charles Van Schaik has all of a sudden went to the point he was able to slip around Woodby. But they're both going to find a way around Beverly here. Clinton Woodby, though, may take him a little bit longer to do so. He'll stay committed to the inside for now, though. Now he has to dart back up. 55 of 125 laps complete, and when they cross the line this time, they'll officially put us at 70 laps to go here at Irish Hills, Michigan. Woodby, you see running that bottom, and man, the back end of that race car is really, really going to work right now to try to keep that car rotating through the center, and Van Schaik trying to break a little bit of draft off. David Traylor, Joe Yakes still hanging around. For Traylor, you wonder again, is this the point where he feels like he needs to start to turn it up a little bit, or does he want to continue to save? That first pit stop still arguably not for another, I'd say 15 to 20 laps or so, maybe even a little longer than that, depending on just how far you go. I mean, we're about just over 20 laps in on this run. So again, you'd expect 20 laps or so from now would be that green flag stop. Unless they feel like they can push it a little bit farther, then that could of course be a different story. Either way though, from when they make this green flag stop, in terms of if they're going to be able to make it on a one stop, it's looking a little bit less likely. It's going to be really, really tough to do. Whoa, man, that was another close call right there. We said they'd have to stretch it to 45 laps, and I just don't know if they're quite going to be able to do that. That would mean they'd have to make it to lap 80. And who knows, maybe some of the drivers that were sitting back saving tire were also saving fuel in the process. Either way, for Mark Beverly here, he's going to have to finally give up that spot. Can't hold on to it any longer. And so Beverly's going to fall to 4th. Traylor moves up to 3rd. Clinton Woodby 2nd. And Charles Van Schaik currently leading the way here at Michigan. And for Van Schaik, again, we talked about it. Overall, good qualifying effort. Started in the 4th spot, I believe. He's in now currently, obviously, your leader. But just the consistency when he starts to get on a roll. I mean, this guy is lights out. The problem has been kind of keeping that streak alive the entire season. Now, he did lead the points standing for quite a bit of the season before David Traylor was finally able to catch him and take over just by a sheer amount of wins. But he does sit 2nd in points still. And maybe Van Schaik has timed this up perfect. Because even though he may be using a lot of stuff right now to try to pull out ahead of everybody, as man, Joe Yakes just had another massive save. This one maybe even bigger than the last one, as he started to lay down just a little bit of tire smoke. Watch this from the cockpit view. Just gets loose. He's trying to stay in the throttle, but eventually he has to get out of it to hold on. Again, a really nice save right there by Joe Yakes. As more racing up front. Here comes the 03 of Colin Boilinger now. He's going to try to get back to the leaders after he saved a bunch of tire early. So when they cross the line next time, it'll be officially 60 of 125 laps complete. Bollinger trying to catch back up. And so you ask yourself the question, does he have enough time to get up there and make it happen? Looks like as it stands right now, he's about 3 seconds behind Van Schaik and about 2 seconds behind all the other cars currently in front of him. There's the 92 of Woodby, along with the 54 of David Traylor. 2 past teammates that know each other very well. Both drivers, phenomenal talents. Clinton Woodby with a couple wins on the season. David Traylor, he's got more than just a couple, but either way here, he's going to look for another pass on the 92. Whoa, almost some contact right there as Woodby chased him down to the apron a little bit. These two racing each other pretty physical right here. Man, that could have been really, really bad. That was close for Clinton Woodby to some contact right there. They're lucky that they got away with that without any further issue. And that could have been really, really bad. A nice save, though, by both drivers to keep those cars clean, as here comes Clinton Woodby with another run rolling on the outside here down the backstretch. Traylor trying to drive it up so that he can arc it in as much as he possibly can. Meanwhile, Van Schaik's still your leader, and he's got it up to almost 2 seconds as these two continue to race side by side. For Van Schaik here, the hope is that he can hold on to that gap or just keep some sort of a gap. By the time they get to this first sequence of pit stops, think that that would be his best bet. Give him the biggest opportunity to potentially set up to win this race. Still, obviously, a lot of racing to go. We're getting close now to the halfway point. About 2 or 3 laps from now is when we can officially say that we are over halfway. Going to catch some lap traffic here. As a matter of fact, this will be the first car that'll go a lap down here tonight, and it is going to be Jonathan Herbert in the 87 machine to lose that lap. For Herbert here, he's going to try to, or excuse me, in the 88 machine, but for Herbert right here, going to try to hold on as long as he can, but just not going to be able to do it. The 88, big rear end damage. I'm not sure what he got that from. Either way, a tough break for Jonathan Herbert as you look at the rest of the track map and how the field sits. The next lap cars right now are about a quarter to half a track ahead of the leaders. So I don't think we'll see anybody else get lapped unless they're coming out of the pits from now till about, well, at least not after the green flag pit stop, and then maybe we'll see a couple more. But either way, 62 laps now complete. And so as we start to get closer to that first round of green flag pit stops, we're going to take another quick break. Stick with us as Charles Van Schaik continues to lead here at Michigan.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. Muehlberger Custom Homes 250 pit stops underway. You saw some of the drivers that have already made stops while we were on break. And we still got a couple more that have not went down just yet, which begs a couple questions. I think the answer is going to be that nobody can make it on a one stop, but we won't confirm that officially until we've seen everybody cycle through this first round of stops. How about a comparison, though, of the fall off here? Old tires versus new tires. Here we go. Clinton Woodby, 41.492 that last lap. You go down and compare that to David Traylor, who's on fresh tires. And this is going to be his first full lap up to speed on these fresh tires. And watch the difference. I mean, I'm thinking here, my general guess is going to be that it's probably worth about 1 to 2 seconds worth of fall off. And so let's see what it exactly is. Whoa, Traylor. Big slip up right there out of 4. He was really pushing the pace, and he almost got up into the outside wall. Even with that slip up, it's still a 40 flat. Maybe we'll compare Van Schaik instead, who recently had a pit stop. It was a 40 flat, 40.07 for him. And then a couple 42s and 44s right there. So that would say that the fall off is probably about a second to a second and a half right now for your leaders. Bollinger's still out on the racetrack. But if these guys right here can't make it, I'd say another 6 to 10 laps. Then, this is an interesting strategy call. The idea then becomes that you just want to be on offense the entire time. You want the freshest tires. It's not a bad call, but it's just going to be very interesting to see how much time they've lost and if they can make all that time back up once we get through not only this pit stop completely, but then also the next one as well. Looks like Evan Schilling has now made his way down to the pits. A couple others as well, but for Evan Schilling here, this is going to be 4 tires and fuel. Thought maybe Clinton Woodby was going to set up to come down this time. Doesn't look like anything yet. So for Evan Schilling here, as we watch him slide into his box, he'll take 4 tires and fuel. The 18 car has been pretty stout so far here tonight. Schilling is up 5 spots from where he started this race at right now. See if he can pick up a little bit more here where things are all said and done. And up front again for Woodby, Neil through Bollinger still yet to pit. Colton Hardy, don't believe he's made a pit stop yet. Neither has Dylan Paws, Bill Hales, Eric Hegdahl, Michael Newman, Keith Prince, or Lance Thompson. That leaves Van Schaik, who sits in 10th. Everybody else behind him as the drivers who have already made a pit stop. And the only other concern here is if we somehow were to get a caution before we see everybody make that pit stop, that could very well trap some of these cars a lap down. Now, if you're one of the leaders, that's great, but if you're one of those cars that's currently a lap down, you are hustling right here to try to go up there and get that lap back before you get trapped if there's a caution. For David Traylor, now that he had a chance to settle down a little bit, let's look at a couple of those last lap times for him. And the first one was still the best at a 40.041, but 42, 41, and 42. Still very, very fast laps here for David Traylor, who's now going to work around the 55 of Mark Beverly. And if you're Traylor here, you're trying to make obviously as quick a work as you can. Clinton Woodby has now officially brought it down to the pits, so as the 92 comes in, that'll now leave just one more out on the racetrack, or rather, leave just one more of the 2 leaders out on the racetrack, and then a few others that have not pit yet. And let's see. I'm curious to see how far Clinton Woodby is going to fare behind Van Schaik. Oh, it's going to be a mile. I mean, this isn't even close right here. That is a ton of time in terms of the difference for Van Schaik versus Woodby. Van Schaik right now, to put that in perspective, is exiting turn 2 as Woodby is not even on the racetrack yet. That is, again, a huge difference. And knowing that they're probably not going to be able to, any of them for this matter, aren't probably going to be able to make it on fuel on a one stop. I don't know about this call. It'll be very interesting. We'll have to see just how much time they can make up on new tires here. That is going to be a huge margin to have to try to trim down a little bit. At least if you're going for the win in this one. Bollinger has had a great run so far all night. He qualified 3rd, currently sits in 1st. Had a shot there at the stage win, couldn't quite do it. But again, still a great run nonetheless. Looks like he's going to choose to stay out yet another lap. By the way, right now, Jesse Wise, first car lap down, and he's got a lot of people behind him in the same boat that are trying everything they can to become that first car lap down. Looks like Evan Schilling, Haas Beverly, Jesse Calloway, Rick LePage. All cars that are multiple laps down, or rather single laps down, and then Jonathan Herbert, the only car that is currently being scored multiple laps down. And so for the 03 at this point right here, again, still has not went in just yet. He's going to lose a ton of time once he eventually does, and I would think it's got to be soon, because we're seeing some more pit stops. Does the 03 go in this time? Yes, he does. Okay, so this must have been just about as far as these guys felt like they could go. And that leaves us with just over about 50, 52 laps to go here It'll be 51 now as they cross the line that time. So for the 03, don't think he's going to be able to stretch it on fuel. He'll still have to make a pit stop, but maybe he'll have some strategy to try to play during that final pit stop. It looks like Dylan Paws has made his way in as well. And you had a couple drivers still trying to work their way out. That includes Lance Thompson and a couple of others as well. Colin Bollinger still in the pits. Let's see here how quickly he's able to get out. See the right sides go up. Now you're going to see the left sides go up. And Van Schaik again, just to give you perspective on how much of a difference there is. Van Schaik is at a turn 2 as Bollinger is just now leaving his pit box pretty much. Bollinger now back out on the racetrack and still has to get up to speed as Van Schaik is just about entering turn 3. So the gap is, gap is just incredible right now in terms of old tires versus new tires. But we'll see if, who knows here, maybe Bollinger can find a way to go track him down. That would obviously be the idea. But you look at the lap times for Charles Van Schaik over the course of the last few laps, still out in the mid-40s. So still very good laps at that for Van Schaik, who is leading this race. 76 of 125 laps complete. Colton Hardy, Keith Prince, the two trucks that we believe have not made a pit stop yet. And if that's the case for Colton Hardy here, if he could keep stretching this, it's possible. Not going to rule out just yet. We already said that we needed to see all the cars that have to pit make their pit stop first, and there you go. So Colton Hardy, he is going for it. And what's going to make this strategy so interesting is that even if they have to make one more stop, they may not be quite as far behind Hardy as they are right now, obviously, but he's still got, you look at it on the scoring tower, he's still got a 20-second gap. So if Hardy can just stretch this another 2 laps, I'm going to take that back and say he really needs to try to stretch this another 3-4 laps or so, but just not going to be able to do it. You see the car sputtering now. He's going to have to bring it down, and he'll bring it down sputtering. So for Colton Hardy right here, I just don't know. It's still a lot of laps to go. Looks like, as a matter of fact, it's going to be about 46, 49. And when they cross the line right here, it'll be 48 laps to go. That's still a pretty big stretch. You figure when they went back green here in this final stage to where they are now, Hardy, at least, stretching the fuel as much as he did, went about 40... He went about 44 to 46 laps. As a matter of fact, I think he, in full, went 45 laps, actually, which is a good stretch, but I don't think it's going to quite be enough. He's going to have to find a way to get just a little bit more here. We'll have to see how it works out here for Colton Hardy. The other thing now is he's lost a ton of time, and he may lose even more if he has to start trying to save and back in the pace off even more. That leaves just Keith Prince out now, who's going to bring it down to the pits this time. So Prince able to go 1 lap extra than Colton Hardy. Could that be the difference? Certainly a possibility. That's going to be one of the questions that we're going to wait to see get answered here at some point. As there goes Van Schaik and company. For Van Schaik right now, 79 of 125 laps complete. And now that things have fully cycled out, look at the gap here between first and second. 5 seconds, as a matter of fact, just a little bit over. And if we look at that time comparison, it's not closed up much. These two have kind of been fluctuating a little bit here. I would say overall it's maybe been, it extended a little bit of lap ago. I'm not sure if Trailer made a mistake or what happened. But either way, certainly not closing the gap as much as he may have hoped. And this is, again, a position for Van Schaik where if he can execute, assuming no cautions and that nobody's able to win it off a crazy strategy, he is in the catbird seat at the moment. But we'll have to keep an eye on how much that timing shrinks here over the course of the next 20 to 30 laps or any point until we get within that final fuel window. All right, we're going to go ahead and take another quick break. Van Schaik continues to lead. We'll see if it stays that way when we get back. Stick with us here at Michigan.
simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. Before we go back to full screen, did want to show you what the upcoming schedule is looking like for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Series. Next week, going to head to Texas Motor Speedway for 150 laps. That's going to be a fun one. Then we take a break the week after for Christmas, and it's off to the Tricky Triangle Pocono Raceway to kick off the new year, followed by Bristol Motor Speedway and then Talladega Super Speedway on January 17th. The playoffs will start after that with the round of 16 consisting of 3 races, Kansas, Auto Club, and Darlington, before we go off to the round of 10. That'll be, well, we have Valentine's Day off, but then after that it'll be Kentucky, followed by Daytona, and then North Wilkesboro. And then the Championship 5 will be at Homestead Miami Speedway on March 14th. Okay, as we go back live now, full screen. 86 of 125 laps complete. Van Schaik still well on track, at least in terms of the strategy side of things, to win himself this race. A couple of the wild cards, let's remind you of them. Right now, we have a few drivers. They're close. I don't believe they can make it on fuel, but they're close. Those 2 drivers, most notably Colton Hardy and Keith Prince. We'll see if they can make it happen. And by the way, I feel like we've tried at least just about. We may have missed a couple, but for the most part, I've tried to shout out mostly every driver here tonight. We've missed a couple. Get to them now before it's all said and done. The driver out of Fairhope, Alabama, again, Keith Prince. Right now he's down 9 spots from where he started. Good-looking paint scheme, though. He's got the Merry Christmas scheme on tonight and the Happy Holidays on the front of the hood. But for Keith Prince right now, this race has all come down to strategy for him. A caution he would not mind, but without one, it'll be a question of can he make it on fuel. He was the driver that was able to go the longest, although I still felt like he was a lap or 2 short. We'll have to see what he can do. It would be a crazy way to get his first win of the season, but it is certainly still in the realm of possibility. Jesse Calloway in the 4, the driver out of Granite Falls, North Carolina, had a solid run going earlier, but has fallen to 16th, still up a spot from where he started this race at, but a lot of work to do, and Calloway right now looks like he's really fighting the handling of that race car. Just behind him, Kevin Winker, who currently sits in 17th, down 7 spots from where he started this race at. Winker, another driver that we've seen come close at a couple tracks. Good short run speed most everywhere we've went. Again, it's kind of been the long run speed that's been his struggle, especially here tonight. Rick LePage right now back in 18th, up 2 spots from where he started this race at. A Canadian driver out of Ottawa, trying to make something happen here. He's got a good looking paint scheme on that car here tonight. See what he can do. Jonathan Herbert in 19th. Lance Thompson currently rounds out your top 20. Tyler Beverly, of course, 21st. And I believe that's everybody. If we missed anybody, again, please let me know. We tried to kind of cover everybody here tonight since we had some time to do so. Eric Hegdahl in the 11. Travelers Rest, South Carolina, his hometown. He sits in 10th. He's had an overall kind of a roller coaster of a run, but it's all been a roller coaster within the top 10. So a good run to say the least. And Jesse Wise in the 69 just behind him, racing alongside Evan Schilling right here. Like Jesse had gotten past him. Evan's going to try to cross it back, though, see if he can take that spot back here into turn 3 and through turn 4. It's close. Is he going to be able to slide up? Yes, he is. All right, so Evan Schilling will take that spot. Eric Hegdahl still in 10th. Michael Newman now has broken inside the top 10. He currently sits in 9th. You've got Dylan Paz in 8th with Colton Hardy in 7th. Mark Beverly 6th. Joe Yates in 5th. Colin Bullinger in 4th with Clinton Woodby 3rd, David Traylor 2nd, and Charles Van Schaik currently leading the way as he sits in 1st with about a 4.9 second lead over David Traylor. Clinton Woodby right now, who sits in 3rd. I mean, really, not even so much Clinton Woodby, even David Traylor, they just have not been able to dig into the gap that this 23 car has created. And I think it's probably a good time to note that that final fuel window, it should be open now. And if they're going to play it safe, I think they wait till at least around lap 95 before they make this stop. But that would be, I guess, the drivers that were breaking it into 3 fuel runs, 2 stops. So that would be maybe when you start to think about making a pit stop here, or maybe they wait till they get to right around that lap 100 mark. Either way, for Van Schaik here, he's gearing up for that final stop. And let me tell you something, when you've got a 5.2 second lead, you have got to be money on this pit stop. You cannot make a mistake. He's going to have to be perfect, and it's all going to start with being conservative on entry. Again, he can afford to give up even 2 or 3 seconds, which you would never do on a pit stop entry unless you just never had taken that pit stop entry before. But worst case scenario, if he gives up half a second, maybe even a second worth of time, that's okay. He'll still have a big gap, and I mean, that's kind of forcing the hand of David Traylor, who already knows that he's going to have to dive in pretty deep and try to make up any time he can if he wants a shot to win this race. Speaking of David Traylor, there's the view for the 54. You wonder, was he trying something different here? Is there going to be any adjustment in the strategy for Traylor at this point, or is he committed? Just going to try to finish it out the best he can at this point. It's the driver out of Conyers, Georgia. For Traylor right now, again, we talk about that gap. Doesn't sound like he's saving any fuel either, which would make sense. I mean, it'd kind of be too late for him to necessarily bail on the strategy that he's already kind of made his bed for. By the way, Colton Hardy in 7th, starting to slowly make a good recovery after earlier, where he started to lose a little bit of speed, but found it again in the long run, which was something we talked about. It seems like he struggled a bit with this season. But he's definitely found some of it here tonight. Right now, again, sits in 6th. Actually just picked up a spot from Mark Beverly in the 55. And these two still side by side. They are not. Hardy was able to get clear. And now that 97 Toyota Supra going to get just a little bit of fresh air to work with here before he gets to Joe Yates, who it looks like is going to be the first driver to bring it down for his final stop. Joe Yates brings it in with 94 of 125 laps complete. And so again, we talked about this will be the final stop for Joe Yates. It looks like he got in clean. Let's see if he can do the same here once he gets into his box, and then of course getting out of his box. We'll slide in. Ooh, did he overshoot a little bit? Yes, he did. Little mistake like that shouldn't cost him much, but again, if you're somebody that's trying to catch another driver or trying to hold somebody else off and it's close, you cannot afford to make those mistakes. So right there for Joe Yates, doesn't cost him a ton of time, but it may cost him just enough. And the other thing that you might notice here, well, we'll hold off on that because we're going to go back live here as we see some of the other pit stops being made. It's going to be David Traylor and Colin Bollinger who bring it down this time. And it looks like, I was trying to figure out for Joe Yates there, if he only took 2 or 4, he may have only taken 2. Let's see what David Traylor and Bollinger decide to take right here. Going to see the right side go up on both of those race cars. And the next question is, do we see the left side go up as well? Looks like for David Traylor, it will. So for David Traylor, the call is 4 tires and fuel. And actually for Joe Yates, I think he did take 4. I think it was just the look. For Bollinger, though, he only took 2, I believe. Well, that's a bold call here. All right, so maybe Yates did take 2. Either way, that's a couple of really interesting calls right here. Watch the jack drop again for the 03 here. Confirming that he did only take 2. I think so. Wow, so for the 03, that's a surprising call. We'll see if it works out. Van Schaik now makes his way into the pits. For Van Schaik right now in the 23, he's going to be taking 4 tires and fuel because he's got a big time buffer to work with. It would make no sense to not. And now he'll go out and try to see if he can hold them all off for less than 30 more laps to claim his first win of the season. Maybe get himself back in the conversation of fighting for that regular season points championship. He's close between him and David Traylor, but David Traylor just has so many wins already on the season that Van Schaik, it's been tough for him to compete even with the consistent finishes. And so now that the pit stop sequence has started, you wonder how many and when do we see drivers come down for their final service. It's like Jesse Wise in the 69 right now finds himself in the pits. It'll be 4 tires and fuel for, I think, everybody here except maybe some of the drivers who go in really, really late. That might be the only drivers that you see consider not taking 4 tires, maybe just a splash of gas, for example, to try to minimize whatever damage is done. If, of course, you go with the strategy of trying to run it as long as you possibly can. Either way, 98 of 125 laps complete. If you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here. Tower operator. Excuse me, tower operator. I don't know why I always say tower. David Traylor's in here as well. And then it looks like Buster Malcolm in here as well. Good to see everybody in here tonight. Hope everybody's having a good Friday night, Friday evening, depending on which part of the country you are in. You're watching the Muehlberger Custom Homes 250, the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. Still a lot of pit stops to be made here. Waiting for a couple more, actually, as a matter of fact, right now, from some of the drivers who went in not as late as they possibly could, but definitely went about a handful to a couple more than that later than the leaders. Really, I mean, full fuel here. Oh, actually, let's hold that thought here because we got a couple more pit stops coming in. Looks like it's going to be Evan Schilling and Jesse Calloway in for their final service. And for Jesse Calloway, 4 tires and fuel will be the call, as it is for everybody else. And back from Mark Beverly now. He's going to take over the lead. That means Clinton Woodby has brought it down to the pits, as has Dylan Paws as well. So more and more drivers making pit stops here with 99 of 125 laps complete. We're getting close to that 25 lap to go threshold. And it feels like the pacing kind of changed. Things start to get desperate because you feel like you're really within the final stretch of this 250-mile event. I talked about that it has been a race of endurance here tonight. I mean, you figure we have had not one caution to speak of outside, of course, of a stage break caution, and we're still already on almost 2 hours worth of racing. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. Maybe more so, almost an hour and a half, I should say, worth of racing since we went green. And that's, again, with mostly green flag conditions. That tells you how long as a driver you've had to be locked in and focused without making a mistake. That's a tough time to do it, or rather a long time to have to be that focused. And everybody been doing a heck of a job here tonight, even with some race cars that have maybe not been handling all that well. For Eric Hegdahl, who currently sits in 3rd, Bill Hale's 4th, Haas Beverly 5th, and then there's Charles Van Schaik, who currently, wow, look at this. Him and Trailer side by side. What was this here? Was there a difference in call, or what in the world happened here? How did Van Schaik lose so much time here on David Trailer? Now they're dooring each other down the front stretch here. David Trailer knows that this spot could be for the race win. We're going to have to try to figure out how these two got so close so quickly. I thought for sure David Trailer would have had Van Schaik beat by a mile here. Or excuse me, Van Schaik would have had Trailer beat by a mile. But that is not the case. These two are linked up, and this is going to get interesting here. They're both on relatively equal stuff. I think David Trailer, I thought, was on the slightly fresher stuff, but it actually may have been Van Schaik who's on the slightly fresher tires, and they're still door-to-door here. Van Schaik knows how much this means. He does not want to give Trailer any opportunity right here to take this spot away, knowing how late in the race it is. Oh, man, David Trailer, he's close. Trying to go down to the apron. Van Schaik's going to dive down to grab a side draft on him. That was a good one, too, right there. You saw he was able to pull that 54 back, going down towards turn number 1. And as these two continue to battle, you can see Trailer does not want to go all the way down to the bottom because he knows that's what Van Schaik's trying to make him do. He wants to run the middle, make the 23 slip up a little bit. Van Schaik is trying to pin the 54 down. And by the way, I'm talking about these two racing, and you can't forget about, though, the 03 of Bollinger, who's sitting right behind these two. If they slip up or keep racing like this, he may have the opportunity to sneak by both of them. Because remember, when they pit, or rather when pit stops were starting, there was about a 5-second difference, and they door each other yet again. You see David Trailer there. He gets a grin. He's having fun. He knows it's just hard racing. These two having a good time here going at it, and this is what we were waiting for all night, is the battle for the lead. It seems like every week, regardless of how long the race is, regardless of how many drivers are in the race, it always seems to come down to these hard battles at the end to determine who's going to be the winner. And even though it's for Van Schaik an opportunity to get his first win, Trailer, he's not going to have any mercy. He wants that 3 in a row and to add another one. And man, they continue to just stay door to door. I mean, this is about as tight a racing as you can get here at Michigan. And for Van Schaik, he's got to be careful because he's on this outside. He's burning his stuff up. I can tell you that just from watching it. And he keeps trying to side draft David Trailer all he can. But if he burns his stuff up too much, he may be in trouble one way or the other. Mark Beverly now in for his final stop. That still leaves a handful of drivers out on the racetrack that have not pit yet. And I'm looking at some of them here that were kind of on the fuel strategy that I don't think it's going to work out for either way, as they have already been passed by the leaders. That includes, obviously, Colton Hardy and Keith Prince. So fuel strategy out of the question. Now it's just going to come down to who is going to get the race for the win. As Michael Newman there, not sure what that was all about, but looks like he's regathered himself. So we'll go right back to what it was. Van Schaik versus David Traylor. Colin Boilinger still right in the mix as Michael Newman brings it to a halt, so he'll surrender the lead. That gives it over to Eric Hegdahl and Bill Hales. As Van Schaik looks like finally able to get that spot back for the moment, but will he be able to hold on? That's what we're going to find out. We're going to take one more break. We'll keep the cameras pointed right at these two to see who's able to make the pass potentially for the race win. Stick with us as we hit 21 laps to go at Michigan.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. The battle for the lead now starting to finally sort itself out. It'll be 15 laps to go when they cross the line this time, and David Traylor finds himself back out in front. Okay, so there's a couple questions here that I was kind of trying to find out a little bit while we were over break, and I really wasn't able to quite find the answers I was looking for. We're going to go back and try to figure this out somewhat one way or another. And the big question here is, how is it that David Traylor got even with Van Schaik when Van Schaik had such a big lead coming into the final round of pit stops. So we're going to watch both stops here. I think they're going to be pretty even, but we're going to watch them from start to finish here to see if either driver had a mistake at any point, and there's your answer. Sure enough, they did not catch this initially when Van Schaik first got in the pits. The one thing we said he couldn't let happen, he lets happen. He locks the brakes up on entry. I'm not sure if it cost him a penalty as well, but just getting in really hot, trying to hit the downshifts right, realizes he's coming in a little too hot, and maybe a little wheel hop just starts to turn the car around. He locks it down, but he's going to go to enough of a spin here to where he's now sideways. He gets back rolling, but you figure that probably cost him at least 2 to 3 seconds, I would think. And then we'll speed this up here a little bit as he gets to his box here. Does he have any extra penalty that he had to serve? I don't think so. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have been close with your leader. And so he's going to still take rights. He takes lefts as well. And then as he works his way out, does he have any issues on exit here? Gets up to speed there. He's okay there. He's okay there. Doesn't look like he's got any major issues right there. Works his way back out on track, but just the time he lost from that mistake is what allowed David Traylor to get there. And man, Van Schaik has got to be punching himself in the shoulder right now about the fact that if he can't win this race now, as we're going to be coming to 12 laps to go, it's going to be all because of that one mistake. As close as they are now, imagine what the gap would be for Van Schaik if he would not have made that mistake. And without a caution here, I just don't know. It's not over yet, but just think that as hard as Van Schaik was running Traylor on the outside, he may have used up his stuff. If that's the case, then for David Traylor, this might be smooth sailing the rest of the way. And say it one more time, and then I'll let it go for the rest of the race. But it's what we mentioned. And when you have that big of a lead, the only person that can beat you is yourself, and it happens. But for Van Schaik, just feel like, I mean, it's such a bad time for it to happen because he had this race won. I think there could be an argument that he was maybe the best car here tonight, at least at one point, until he made that mistake, fell out of the rhythm, got to racing a little too much with David Traylor. As a result, now finds himself in second. He'll try to hold on to there. He's got about a second gap back to Colin Bollinger, who, by the way, you saw racing pretty tight with David Traylor and company there for a little while before he eventually started to fade out of the picture. So Colin having an excellent run as well as we now hit 11 laps to go. And if you're just tuning in, of course, we appreciate you being here. Again, you are watching the Muehlberger Custom Homes 250 from Michigan International Speedway. 250 miles, 125 laps at the start of this race. And we are approaching just a couple handful left to determine the winner at one of the tracks that I think a lot of drivers have. I don't know if I want to call it on the bucket list, but when you look at a season and you look at a couple tracks you'd like to win at, I think Michigan's one that a lot of drivers have marked down. It's just one of those really iconic racetracks. It's a tough one, but it is a fun one. High banking in the corners, long straights, almost runs kind of like a hybrid between 1.5 miles and a super speedway. For David Traylor here tonight, he's been money. He maybe wasn't the best there for a little while, but he's been consistent, and that paid off once Van Schaik made that mistake. That's what cost him. David Traylor has taken advantage since the 03. Colin Bollinger still again hanging around in that third spot, back and forth. It's Clinton Woodby, with Joe Yates right now rounding out the top 5. Colton Hardy's in 6th. Clinton Woodby 7th, with Mark Beverly 8th. Michael Newman in 9th. And Evan Schilling currently rounding out your top 10. Kevin Winker 11th. Keith Prince 12th. Jesse Wise 13th, with Bill Hales in 14th. Haas Beverly 15th, with Jesse Calloway in 16th. Jonathan Herbert 17th, Rick LePage in 18th. Lance Thompson in 19th. And Eric Hegdahl, with an issue, has disconnected. He finishes in 20th after he had a relatively good night going. So that's a tough break there for Eric Hegdahl. By the way, next place that PGR eSports is going to head is tomorrow night for the NOMA Truck Series Championship, an event that we have been looking forward to. It's all going to happen tomorrow night. That championship race will be held at Legacy Atlanta Motor Speedway, a track that a lot of the AOR drivers are familiar with. They were here last week in the Xfinity cars. And you'll see a couple of those drivers, and I think actually the only driver that you'll see that's consistently in the AOR series as well is going to be David Traylor. We'll be keeping an eye to see if maybe David Traylor can go win himself a championship. Got to certainly feel like that would be a very, very big win for David Traylor. He's already got a championship in the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Truck Series when it was last season. He's looking to go back-to-back, but again, seeing if he can do the double by getting a NOMA championship as well. We'll be coming to 7 laps to go David Traylor still leads Charles Van Schaik. The gap is about 7/10 of a second. And let's hop on board here actually with Van Schaik for just a moment and see, is he just out of stuff? I think he is. I mean, you see he was really fighting that car off the corner right there. He lost another 10th. And so I think for Van Schaik here, it's just going to come down to he just used up his stuff and really doesn't have much left to fight with at this point. Down into the corner. Looks okay on entry, but yeah, right there. When you see a driver gnawing and sawing on a wheel that much, it's just means they're starting to struggle with handling, and he's keeping the race car under him. But the problem is, the more you scrub the wheel like that, the more speed that you're taking off. So for Van Schaik, he holds on, but the car's certainly not handling as good as he would like. For David Traylor, you see just a little bit smoother right now. Still has to make some corrections himself throughout the corner. It looks just a little bit better on exit, though. He's even fighting that car a little bit. Still has the advantage now as we see officially 6 laps to go. And remember, we have to get to the white flag for this race to be official. So when they hit 5 laps to go, that'll be 4 more for Traylor that he's going to have to stress before he can start to relax. When we see that white flag, that's the one flag that really, as a driver, if you have a significant lead, that's the only time you feel like you can relax. Any point before then, you're worried that a caution's going to come out and change the complexity of a race. That's why David Traylor not going to back his pace down at all. He will continue to run it as hard as he can here until we get to that point. And as he comes out of turn 4, he will now see that magical 5 lap to go marker. But David Traylor, by the way, we know this wouldn't be his first win. I think the most recent accomplishment that it would count towards is, again, making it a 3-in-a-row win streak for David Traylor after he won not just last week, but the week before that as well. David Traylor has been on another heater. Seems like it's been kind of the story of his season. But he's looking to continue it again here tonight. And Schaik has since fallen to about a second, just over a second back. Still, again, has a chance. It's not over until it's over, but just as each lap goes by, the more Van Schaik starts to fade, the more you think that Traylor is going to be good to go here. He's really started to set the sails. Bollinger is still over 4 seconds back from the leader, 3 seconds back from second place. And he may have a little battle that he's got to contend with here himself. Clinton Woodby can get there, although I don't think Woodby's going to have enough time. Overall, a great strategy call by these top 3 to get themselves in this position. But for Van Schaik, it is going to feel like a heartbreak. We'll get an interview with him, obviously, as long as he stays around in the top 3, but just not the way he wanted this night to end after the speed that he had, especially after that first green flag pit stop here in this final stage. So back up front for David Traylor as he crosses the front stretch here at Irish Hills, Michigan. He sees 3 laps to go. That means just 2 more to make this race official and set himself up again for yet another win and a 3rd win in a row. Streak that he's been on. And I mean, we talk about another win in general. You count the wins that he's got from the beginning of the season. Got the job done first again at Road America. Maybe not the track that everybody had circled as the first track he'd win at, but gets it done at a road course. Makes it number 2 at Rockingham and then follows it up a few weeks later at Iowa for number 3. Gets number 4 at Milwaukee and then number 5, of course, at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And looking for number 6 here tonight at Michigan. 2 laps to go now. The gap up to 1.5 seconds. Van Schaik at this point is just fading. All he's trying to do is just hold on to second. He's got plenty of room to do so as long as he doesn't make another mistake. David Traylor, no traffic out back. You go to the cockpit view, look out the windshield. No traffic close enough out front that is going to affect him. All he needs now is that white flag, and he's about half a lap, 1 mile away from it. He's going to get through 3 and 4 clean without any issue. Off of turn 4, this is what he's been waiting to see all night. 249 miles complete, 1 to go as the white flag is in the air. 1 lap to go. And excuse me, it was 248 miles complete, so 2 to go here at Michigan. But just 1 lap to complete those 2 miles. And for David Traylor, that's 2 sets of corners, 1 and 2. Looks good so far. He gets through without issue. For Van Schaik, looks like that final gap is going to end right around a second, just under 1.5 seconds or so. As Traylor backing it down just a little bit this last lap, does not want to make a mistake. 54 is okay with giving up a little time. He's got plenty of it to use up, but how about it? David Traylor, he's been dominant, you know that much, but how about 3 in a row? First time he's going to do that this season. David Traylor will get his 3rd win in a row. He gets the job done here at Michigan International Speedway. Charles Van Schaik brings home 2nd. It's Colin Bollinger who finishes in 3rd and rounds out the podium. Another great win for David Traylor. Fantastic one at that. And the season of domination continues. The driver out of Conyers, Georgia. We'll get a chance to hear from David, of course, in the interviews. And by the way, we ended with only 13 cars on the lead lap. Certainly an interesting setup from the way it looked like it was initially going to go. And so as he'll bring it around to burn it down, we await your results here to get the final standings and scoring of this race. David Traylor, again, officially your race winner. Charles Van Schaik, 2nd, with Colin Bollinger back in 3rd. Clinton Woodby, 4th. Joe Yakes in 5th, with Colton Hardy in 6th. Dylan Paul is back in 7th. Mark Beverly, 8th. Michael Newman in 9th. And Evan Schilling rounding out your top 10. Jesse Wise finishes 11th. Bill Hales in 12th. Keith Prince, 13th, with Haas Beverly in 14th. And you've got Jesse Calloway back in 15th. Kevin Winker, 16th. Jonathan Herbert in 17th, with Rick LePage finishing back in the 18th spot here tonight. And rounding out the top 20, it's going to be Lance Thompson and Eric Hegdahl. Tyler Beverly rounds out the field. He finishes in 21st. David Traylor continues to burn it down in front of the virtual grandstands. As he does so, we'll bring him along with your other top 2 up for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Michigan. All right, so we're going to go ahead and kick things off tonight with your race winner, David Traylor. David, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy? We got him up here. We'll give him just a moment. I know exactly why he can't hear me. Let's give us just a second here to get this fixed up. All right, we should have him now. Hey, David, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, got you, Austin. Sorry about that.
No worries. It was on my end. But hey, another win here tonight, but this one was a little different. I mean, the mindset had to have changed when you go from 5 seconds behind the 23. Next thing you know, as you cycle out of the pits, you see him in your windshield. First, tell us about what was going through your mind, and then break us down the battle between you two that went on there for about 5 or 10 laps.
Yeah, after the stage, for some reason, I thought we could make it on one stop, so I went into a big save mode, trying to save as much fuel as I could. And once I realized we weren't going to make it, kind of drove a little harder to make up some more time. And by then, he was already about 2.5 seconds ahead of us. And then I ran long, so he pulled some more time on us. And there throughout the run, I just tried to be smooth. I drove too hard in the beginning, got my right rear hot, and just made up some time and then lost some time. Just didn't have the speed that I needed. So I knew I just wanted to. I had to pit before him. If he had fresher tires than me, or if he got in there before me, he'd have pulled away, and I'd have never had a shot. So just kind of just decided to go. Hoped for no caution because I knew I was one of the first cars to pit, and I think he may have had a mistake getting on the pit road, but you know, after that, just did what I could to do, just to keep pace with him. I told him, you know, he made me work for this one. I don't know how many laps we were side by side. A little bit of door banging. We actually made contact in 3. I thought we were going to wreck. I did my best to not wreck him and try to save it and get going again, and we did. So after that, like I said, just wanted to stay clean. I knew that clean air was nice, but saving the right rear was more important. So once I could do that, I figured it out and just got into my rhythm.
And the rhythm paid off here, especially in that final run. You looked really fast once you were able to pull away from the 23. So, I mean, overall, again, another great race. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shut out?
Oh, yeah. First off, thanks to my teammates over at Loose Lug Nuts, Colton, Jesse, and then Joe. Those guys support me, help me a lot, help me go faster. Huge thank you to new sponsor moving forward, QH Design. If you need any marketing material, hats, signs, window tint, any kind of thing you can think of, reach out to QH Design. They can take care of it for you. Massive thank you to you over at PGR. I love going back and watching the broadcast. It's one of the best on iRacing, hands down every week. So we really appreciate you doing that. And then thanks to my fiance for letting me do this. Tommy for supporting me, and my dad watching at home.
David, thank you for talking to us again. Congrats on the race win, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Austin.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your second place finisher. If we can pull him in here, for Charles Van Schaik, and I don't see him yet. So we'll go ahead and see if we can get him in here in just a moment. In the meantime, though, we'll go ahead and pull up your third place finisher. That is Mr. Colin Bollinger. Hey, Colin, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you bring home a third place finish here tonight. And man, you had a couple of times where you looked like you may have had a race-winning car. Overall, good speed, but what more do you think you needed in that final run?
I mean, I just think we messed up the strategy early on in the first run. We pitted way too late. So when I saw the time and we were I think we got around 8 seconds to the leaders and we kind of started evening out. So I saw David throw it down in the pits and I threw it down there and I almost sped, but I ended up taking 2 tires there and I think I made the right move. I mean, we got a P3. If I would have took 4 and ran it out like I wanted to, I don't know where I would have ended up. I was maybe 6th or 7th if it shakes out. So I'm kind of glad we did the 2-tire move.
Yeah, the 2-tire move certainly works out pretty well. And I mean, overall, we didn't see you throughout the rest of the season kind of burst onto the scene here. You've had a good run so far. What do you take from these guys through the first couple races, and how do you try to apply that as we go through the rest of the regular season?
I mean, there's some good guys in here for sure. I mean, I'm just going to try and, not really try to step on their toes. I don't think I'm really eligible for any playoffs. So I'm just going to try to, get some good racing in. And if we could pull a couple wins out here and, do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, maybe not eligible for playoffs, but always eligible for trophies. Go out there and try to get some before the season's over. I like it. But hey, Colin, before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
I'll just shout out, Eric Hegdahl. He brought me into the league last week, and so far, in the first 2 weeks, I've had a pretty good time. So, yeah.
So far, so good. Well, hey, Colin, we appreciate you talking to us again. Congrats on the third place finish, and hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
All right, and we're still looking for your second place finisher, Charles Van Schaik. I do not see him, though. So with that, I guess we'll wrap things up. Looks like we'll give him another minute here. Looks like he is currently actually messaging me at the moment, so we'll go ahead and give him an opportunity. But man, overall, I guess we'll do our wrap-up now and see if he's in by the time we're done. I mean, what a great race it was. That was one of those ones where you see battling that late. I mean, battling that late in a run is already impressive enough in of itself, but for Van Schaik, it's still heartbreaking. Yeah, we did just get official word that he has to go tend to his daughter right now, so we will not be able to get an interview with Van Schaik here tonight, but either way, a great run. Even though Van Schaik doesn't work out tonight, he's got to still feel pretty good about it. For David Traylor, he adds yet another win to the tally. So with that, that'll wrap things up here tonight. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. And until next time, have a good night.